some might wish to argue that in some admittedly rare, medically it's very rare, but in some rare situations, the continued existence of the unborn child is incompatible with the continued existence of the mother, and therefore one life must be forfeited. They both cannot continue to live. When somebody urges upon us the duty of preserving the life of the mother, thereby justifying abortion, it cannot be forgotten that the same duty of preserving life applies to the fetus as a human being. We no more owe it to the mother to preserve her life than we owe it to the fetus to preserve its. It is not ours to pick and choose who may live. It is ours to protect all human life, unless it's a case of capital punishment, just war, or self-defense. Remember, the Bible says that it is never right to sin in order to preserve human life. It's never right to commit adultery to preserve human life. It's never right to commit an act of idolatry to preserve human life. But I want to suggest that when we think about lifeboat ethics, when we think about whether we can choose the life of the mother or the life of the fetus, when the doctors tell us that the two can't both be preserved, that there are certain principles in the Bible that govern us in our thinking. The first is this: God never puts us in a situation where we have to sin. God never puts us in a situation where there's no alternative but to sin. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13 says, "There's no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man. And God is faithful, who will with the temptation make also a way of escape, that you will be able to endure it." God never puts us in an unbearable situation. God never puts us in a situation where we must submit to the temptation and sin. God always provides a way of escape. God never puts us in a situation where sin is the answer. Secondly, altruistic self-sacrifice is always a Christian alternative. The idea of giving up your life for another person is always an alternative. Maybe not a pleasant one, maybe a difficult one, but you'll be surprised at how often the New Testament says Jesus gave his life for us. We should be willing to give our lives for others. Moreover, the Bible says, thirdly, it's never legitimate to violate a commandment of God in order for good to abound. In Romans 3, verse 8, that's precisely what Paul says. Shall we do evil that good may abound? He says, God forbid. Shall we murder an innocent child, a fetus, that good may come, the life of the mother be preserved? God forbid. We must remember also that the mother against the certain death of the fetus because we're going to murder the fetus. You see, it is at least conceivable that the doctor, when he says, I think the mother cannot live if the fetus continues to live, that the doctor is wrong. And if you think that's such an unlikely alternative, let me tell you that my own mother was told, after she gave birth to myself, that if she were to become pregnant again, as she did with my brother, that she would die as a result of it. Well, my mother became pregnant. She gave birth to my brother. She's alive and well today, and the two doctors who told her she'd die are both dead. And so I think that it's always possible that when the doctor says the mother shall die, that he's wrong. But let me tell you that if the scalpel is put in and the life of that fetus is going to be sacrificed because he's going to be cut out of the womb of its mother, there's no prediction involved. The fetus will die. You will murder the fetus. And so you're always weighing the certain death of the fetus against the predicted death of the mother. And under such circumstances, God, I don't think, puts it into our hands to take an innocent life. So what I'm suggesting is that abortion is murder, that abortion is culpable and should be punished by the civil magistrate, and that abortion is never justified, even under the plea of self-defense, to save the life of the mother. The unmitigated prohibition of God is this: do not kill the innocent or the righteous, for I will not acquit the guilty. Exodus 23:7. And therefore the innocent fetus must never, under any circumstances, even the threatened life of the mother, be killed by an induced abortion. Those are hard words, but I hope they're faithful words. I hope they're the words of the Lord to you today. I don't think abortion is ever justified.
Okay, but she goes to the doctor and she doesn't have a kid. Okay, if she gets forced and she'll be responsible for the kid's life. Okay, also, what should she do if she will have the child? What should she do to the requisition good? Both are not what.
Okay. If a woman should be raped and turn out to be pregnant, by the way, I think I should indicate to you that the statistics for that sort of thing happening are absolutely astronomical against it. It just virtually never happens. But let's say it does. Okay, for the 1 in a million chances, let's say it happens once. Well, that's a dreadful thing, certainly. And I guess you can be very sure as a Christian I have no sympathy for rape. That's a terrible sin, terrible crime. In fact, I think it calls for capital punishment, to tell you how bad I think it is. But now the issue is this child that comes as a result of this sinful act, is this child guilty because of the rape? Does the child have to forfeit its innocent life because of the sin of its father? And God says that it is wrong for us to punish the children for the sins of the fathers. It is not right for us to kill an innocent life, as dreadful as the way it came about. It is not right for us to kill an innocent life on that basis. For you see, if it were right for us to kill the results of a rape, then you have to ask yourself, when that child is born, could you then kill it? After all, it's still the same child. It came about, its life is due. It originated in an act of rape. Is it right to kill the child after it's born? Well, then what makes it right to kill it before it's born? Psychologically, because we don't see the child, it may not hurt us as much. But in God's sight, it's the same act. And then what should this poor girl do who has been raped? Well, I tend to think that that's a question for Christian counseling and something that her pastor and her parents and her friends should deal with her on situations where the best things would be for her to raise that child. It depends on a lot of factors that we can't go through, all together this afternoon. The age of the girl, how strong a home she's in a church, whether she'll have the loving support of her Christian friends and all that. There's a lot involved in that kind of decision. It seems to me that there's no any preconceived yes or no to that sort of thing. I can imagine glory being given to God by a young girl having the strength and the faith in God to raise that child and say this is still a child of God for all of the sinful origin of its life. And I can also imagine a situation where God says it's better for this child to go into a family, full family, where there can be love and concern and support for it without the background always being before the child that it came about in this way. So I guess I can't answer that in advance for sure one way or another.